What's up guys, in this video we're gonna break down a UK Garage AJ Tracey style beat. This is how it's gonna sound. Ready? Let's jump straight into the project. Okay, so we have the full beat here. All the yellow elements are the instrumental stuff. Then we have a bass line. The purple one is the vocal chops. And then all of these not colored elements are the drums. And then below here we have some textures and some SFX risers and stuff. So I think for simplicity's sake, we're gonna start with highlighting one of the drops. And then we're just gonna mute everything and just go through the drums as the first part. So I have this kick drum here. Just some standard stuff. It's actually just a sample from Splice. Then below here is some volume automation for the kick drum, because I have a breakdown here where I want the kick drum to be a little bit lower in volume. So it's not the same volume when the drop is being enabled. So it's just to add some more dynamic changes to the track over time. Then below here I have some snare. Just some shuffly ones, also a loop from Splice. But then I wanted to layer the snare hit with a clap. And what you can see here, I'm actually working in audio. Sometimes I like to do that instead of using MIDI loops, but this just works for this track. What you can see here is that I have pulled off this small clap hit here. So it's on the 16 grid. And apply some swing to it, because I want to have that bouncy kind of feeling to the drums. If we go further, we have a hi-hat loop, also one from Splice. It just drives that really nice UK Garage vibe to the track. Then I also layered this with some drums. I have a closed hi-hat here and then a smaller, I think it's a shaker thing. No, it's actually also a hi-hat. It's just to add a little bit more texture on top of these hi-hats. These like one-shots are from my sample pack called Lo-Fi Garage. You can check it out via the link in the description. Then I have some more hi-hats playing at this spot here. Also just to add some more interest to the drum groove. I think it works pretty well when these hi-hats are playing in the first beginning of this bar here. It just adds a lot more groove to it. And then if we zoom into the sample, you can see this hi-hat is not hitting at the exact point where the kick drum is hitting. It's a little bit delayed, and it just gives room for the transients to breathe through, and also gives a little more like loose kind of swingy feel to the drums, in my opinion. If we go further, we have some percussion elements here. And it's basically some shakers. There is a rim shot here. And then there is this, it's also like some kind of perk noise. If we zoom in, we can see everything is also being pulled off the grid a little bit. And this is just to give that kind of swing feel to the drums. And these percussive elements are used throughout the whole track. It just gives, like, again, it just gives the drums some bounce, and I really, really like it. Then I have this perk noise here, almost like a tambourine on the downbeat here. And then we have some, I think these are also some rim shots. Yeah, so. And then I have this like wooden percussion thing just in the background. I think it's panned a little bit. Yeah, panned to the left. And then the last element of the drums are these drum fills down here, which are also some, yeah, rim shots. It's just great to add like that drum fill just before the next section. And you can see it's also being pull off the grid a little bit to give a little more like swingy kind of feel to the drums. Nice. Then we have some drum bus filter automation, and this is just done to low pass the whole drum groove, so you can hear here. So gradually just opening up the filter, and I think it's a great effect to introduce the drums in a breakdown towards a build-up and then for the drop. So yeah, that's actually it for the drums. I think then we should move to bassline. So I have this bassline here. Like a really simple bass line. It's just following the root note of the chords that I'm going to show you later. And the sound used for the bass line is actually not that interesting. It's just a basic serum patch with a sine wave, a saw wave with some filter, and some envelope modulation. That's actually it, because I wanted this bass line to just layer underneath everything else. So I have some mallets and some piano chords. So I just want to have like the bass line as that like fundamental stuff in the track. So it's just to fill up the low end basically. Treatment wise, I only have like a little bit of a boost in the low end and then some exciter on the upper range of the bass. Just to pull through like the upper harmonics of the sound. Then I'm using an imager just to make sure that the low end stays in mono. And then the fruit imager is just for sidechaining to the kick drum. So yeah, that's the bass line. Then we can move on to the instrument stuff. So I have a mallet here. Okay, let me just loop this part. So if we go into these mallets here, these are basically the chords that I'm using for this project. And I like to have these like kind of choppy chords and then quantizing them to have a little bit more like swing. So pulling them off the grid, it just gives like that bouncy kind of vibe together with the drums. And the mallets, the sound is coming from Analog Labs Arturia. And then coming from this OPXA, and it just sounds amazing. I don't think I have any processing on. I just route this to an instrument bus. I'm gonna touch upon the buses later. So the next part we have here is a kalimper, and I'm actually using this in the B part of the drop. So this section over here is the A part where I have some vocal chops going on, and then to make like kind of a switch up, I'm changing over to the kalimba melody, and then I'm pulling out the vocal chops to give it like some kind of change to the drop. So these are the kalimbas. It just sounds amazing to me, like really like atmospheric stuff going out here. I had to bounce this to audio because the plugin was a little bit heavy on the CPU, so I wouldn't be able to record this video, but it's coming from Arturia as well. And treatment wise, I have Guitaric 6 here on, and then I'm using, let me just make this smaller, the psych delay with a reverse enabled. So it's basically just traveling like in this nice kind of stereo field. Then I'm using Replica for some more delay stuff at 1/8 straight delay, a little bit of mix, and then the compressor. It just sounds magical. It just adds a really nice character to this beat. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to let you know that I've made a 4-hour online course that teaches you how to make a UK Garage style track from scratch. The course is divided into 9 lessons where you learn everything from programming your drums, chords, bass lines, structuring your song, turning that 8-bar loop into a full song arrangement, and also doing some mixing and mastering. I built this course with everything that I wish that I knew when I was starting out producing. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description down below to learn more. Let's get back into the video. Next, I have this plug. It sounds a little bit weird, but this plug is coming from, let me see, Omnisphere. It just takes a little bit of time to load up. It's a little bit of a heavy plugin, but it's just like I think it's just a standard plug kind of thing. Let me just mute the effects. So this is the sound. with some kind of phaser and a little bit of delay. So I added like a ton of processing. I added an ensemble to add some more like curves, stereo grid kind of effect. The RC20 to add some grid to the sound, lo-fi vibes. Guitar X6, also with like again the side delay in reverse mode. I used the grain delay also to add a little bit of like crazy delays, a little bit of mix, also in reverse mode. A straight delay from Replica. Yeah, I really encourage you to try out Guitar X6 and all of these different delays. It can just add so much character to your tracks. Then I have an EQ just to clean up the low end and also a little bit of the high end to make room for other stuff. And then a sidechain from Shipperbox. And then we have this. And this is basically acting as a sound in more like in the background of all of the other elements. Let's move on to the next sound. I have these FM chords. Like this. Just really like simple chord steps. Nothing crazy. I think this is, okay, this is also from Arturia, the DX7, like really cool FM kind of sound. Let's see processing wise what I have done. Neutron free. So I'm using, actually not doing anything. I'm actually using a gator because there is some noise to this patch that was just applied to everything in the project. So I just wanted to get rid of that. So I just applied a gate. And then I have a Guitar X6 with some, again, replica delay, a little bit of vintage reverb, and then a presser just to pull forth the effects that we added. So nothing crazy, but just sounding really nice. When you're doing these kind of beats in the UK Garage genre, try to play around with adding these different chord steps because they can really emphasize the rhythm of the track. So that's why I'm placing these chord steps where I'm placing them, because they can add like this kind of bouncy feeling to the track. Then I have these lo-fi chord steps here as well. Nothing crazy. I think these are from, yeah, they're from Serum. I think it's a patch from Splice actually. Processing wise, yeah, only like RC20 just to add a little bit of like wobble, distortion, and yeah, just cutting out the EQ and making it a little bit more mono. Okay, so my CPU is struggling a little bit, so I'm gonna try to see if I can do this without it having to spike a lot. The next part is an E-piano. And this is coming from Arturia, the Stage 73, and it just sounds like amazing. This is so great for UK Garage stuff. I'm always thinking about MJ Cole when I hear these kind of sounds. So really amazing. I really recommend the plugins from Arturia. Processing wise, a little bit of EQ to remove low end and then to boost this area at around the 3K area, just to, it's where like that really nice mid-range lies, mid-range to upper range of the sound. And then, of course, being routed into an instrument bus. So, yeah, really adds something cool to the track. It just plays really well together with the kalimbas. Next, I have the piano. It's just playing the same MIDI pattern as the mallets, but it's just to layer like the mallets with the piano. So the piano is playing like, I think it's an octave below the mallets. Processing wise, I think actually only, yeah, replica from Guitar X6, so nothing else. The pianos are coming from Arturia, I believe. Yes, the Piano 5. It just sounds amazing. Really, when I bought like the Arturia collection, I have used the pianos for everything. They just sound amazing. So nothing crazy with these pianos. Just adds like that extra like body and weight to the track. Then I have some synth strings here, which I bounced to audio because again the CPU was struggling a little bit. And then underneath I have some like a mellow pad as well. So these are just to add some ambience and atmosphere to the track. I think processing wise, The synth strings only have like some panning from Shaperbox, just going like in a random pattern here. And then the mellow pad, it's only like EQing, yeah, removing low end, also some of the high end, and then boosting like this mid-range area here. Yeah, so these are actually it for all of the instruments. Really cool. Okay, now we are ready to jump into the vocal chops. So let me just mute them here and we can just listen to them. So if you have watched any of my other videos, you know that I am a sucker for doing vocal chops in FL Studio. So I have this, let me just turn off all of the processing so we really can hear like the original vocal sample. This one is from Splice. Lost in memories. So you can see it's like in 170 BPM. So I just like made it fit to the BPM of my track. So it's 132 BPM. So it sounds a little bit like stretched out, but I really like the vibe of it. So what I have done in terms of doing like this vocal chop effect is that I drag in the sample, and let me just make another patch here. So I go here to the vocal sample, I press on the sample, and then I select chop, and then I select complex beat shuffle. So what it just do is that it just makes random chops, sections of the vocal sample, and now you actually have like a new riff that you can play around with. So I spent a little bit of time to find the right bits that I liked and then rearrange them into a new pattern. Let me just delete everything here. So I came up with this pattern. And what I did is that I added a ton of effects to these vocal chops. So the first one is the little alto boy from Sound Toys. So putting down the formant by -5. So it gets like this more darker kind of tone to it. Then Decapitator to add a little bit of distortion. Really cool. Then add some EQ. This is basically to get like a kind of telephone effect. Then some delay from FL Studio. Just to give the vocals some like a longer tail. Then I added Guitar X6. And yeah, this is basically just some reverb. Sounds amazing and really like huge. Then the Shaperbox with also some like panning, so it gets like a little bit more like interesting in the stereo field. And then some sidechaining. And then I have Ozone 9 Imager. I think this is only just to check like the stereo field. So it's not doing anything. And then lastly, I have a Fruit Limiter, and this is just for doing like sidechaining to the kick. So the kick is ducking down the vocal chops when it's playing. So this is like the full vocal sample. And then I'm adding like these more like iconic, really fast vocal chops here that you use in UK Garage. So it sounds like this. And then some other ones here. And I think you should try that as well when you're working with vocal chops. Make them really, really short so they act more as like a percussion element instead of like a obvious vocal phrase. So yeah, let's listen to like everything. Sounds really, really nice. Okay, so the last thing we have are like all of the effects. So I have like a texture loop here. And this is basically just field recordings that I actually did by myself while I was on vacation in Mallorca. So basically just recording like the environment, the surroundings. So this is like at a restaurant, I guess, at the beach. And it's just adding some atmosphere to in the background of the track. And I'm actually using field recordings in all of my productions because it just adds some warmth and some organic vibes. and I really encourage you to try it out as well. I actually have this like sample pack from Mallorca on my web shop. You can just check it out in the link in the description down below. What I have done treatment wise is that I basically just added some EQ just to remove low end and a little bit of high end, so it's not going to mess up with the rest of the elements. It's just going to be something in the background. And then I have like all of the different like down lifters. I have some chimes here, actually like a tape starting effect, tape recorder, and then I have like uplifters, spin back effects, this like iconic UK Garage thing, and yeah, like a lot of standard stuff. Yeah, rises, crashes, and for like breakdowns, I have like these like simple transitions here. And then like a downlifter and also like some white noise downlifter. I think that's it for like the effects. To make it more simple for me while I'm producing, I actually have like a folder with go-to effects that I use for all of my tracks, just to get everything going. And then I might change out or swap out things later on, but it's just to make everything much more easy instead of me having to browse through a lot of sample packs and search for different effects, because I always end up looking for the same effects. So yeah, that's a great tip. Get like a custom folder with all of your favorite SFX sounds. Okay, so the last thing that I want to go through is the buses. So I have buses for the instruments, for the low end, for the drums, and also for the SFX. For the instrument bus, I just use some bus compression. I use some EQ just to boost like the 2K area, removing the low end of all of the instruments. And then I have, again, another EQ just to clean up some stuff that was a little bit too dominant in the mix as a whole. And then I have the fruit limiter for sidechaining, because then all of the instruments are being docked a little bit when the kick drum is playing. So it just makes more room for the kick drum. Then for the low end, I'm routing the kick drum and the bass line to the low end to just have a little bit more control of the low end. And then I'm boosting at this like 260 hertz area because it was lagging a little bit. Nothing fancy. Then let's move on to, then I have the SFX bus. This is just to remove any unwanted low end to make room for the kick drum and the bass line, because this area is not necessary for the SFX. And then if we move on to the drums, again, bus compression, EQing, boosting like with a high shelf at around 8,000, and also, yeah, I think it's actually what I'm doing, and then low cutting at 120 hertz. EQing, I had like a little bit of like resonance peaks in the hi-hats that I just wanted to reduce here, and then like removing all of the stuff down here because it's not necessary. And then I have the filter, that's the effect that we are using for like the breakdown and the build-up to low pass the drums. Soft clipper, so it just clips off all of the transients that are going above 0 dB. And then imager, I'm splitting up the band, so I have like everything from 150 hertz, gonna be mono. And then I'm boosting like at around from 1000 hertz upwards to 5000, boosting the stereo field a little bit, and also like the really upper range of the stereo field, also boosting a little bit to get the drums a little bit more like stereoized. So that's actually it. Up here in the top, that's also a thing that I do in like almost all of my tracks, is just to reduce the master volume just before the drop, and also adding a stereo effect plugin from kilohertz just to decrease the stereo width of the track so it gets closer to mono. It just gives the impression of everything being a little bit more narrow and a little bit less loud. And then when the drop hits, it just feels like the drop is bigger. You can like have a listen here. Just like it smacks a little bit harder. So yeah, that's a really great tip to do that. Okay, let's just, I think that's like it for the breakdown. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let's just have a listen to like the whole track, and yeah, enjoy. It's really sounding so atmospheric. Okay guys, that's it for this breakdown of a UK Garage AJ Tracey type beat. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, it would mean so much to me if you smash that like button or even subscribe to the channel. I also have a full UK Garage online production course that has over 4 hours of video materials. So if you want to create a whole UK Garage track together with me, you can go check that out. The link is in the description down below. So I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.